Hey, hey, it's episode number 155 of the Better Life, Better Work show, and I am not in my car with really shitty sound. Um, I still do have a little frog in my throat. We'll call that some chronic bronchitis or allergies or who knows. I'm excited today to bring you this episode. It is actually a how-to episode. What made me think of this is a tool that I use in my business that comes in handy for when there's ebbs. So ebb and flow always comes back. Um, and today I want to share with you a tool that I created. It's free. You don't have to charge anything. You don't have to register for anything. I want you to create your own. All you need is a journal and your heart and your values and some things that you probably already know about your clients and customers. And so today, first of all, shout out to my live viewers. Yes, I'm recording this live. Not Instagram. LinkedIn has deemed me worthy of sharing live videos, which should be interesting. Facebook, hello, friends. Nice to see you all. It's been a while. And thank you to my podcast listeners. Man, last week I did that episode from the car and I listened to it and I was like, oh, the sound is really bad in this one because I don't have a wired ear set, or I didn't have a wired ear set for that. And when I opened up my webpage yesterday to do some work on it, I saw that there were so many of you that had downloaded it. And so I just want to thank you all for your time and attention. And today I want to give you something that you can actually use. I used to teach, I love marketing. I love sales. I love marketing and sales. Yes, I'm a life and self leadership, but I cannot help bring in some of my business expertise for my clients. And so today I want to talk about marketing. A few years ago, for many years, I had a program called Share Your Heart, Show Your Work. It is a marketing class as a way of connecting and relating and serving your audience. I may revamp that someday. Who knows? It is amazing. And from that place, so I think of marketing as connecting with my people. I think of marketing as loving on my people. I think of marketing as sharing my heart and showing my work in a way that serves my clients or followers or fans or audience. And that also eventually helps my audience hone in on whether or not they want to work with me. And some of you just want to listen and participate to the podcast or live streams or to my content out there. And every week I hear somebody say, I can't wait to see what you wrote. I can't wait to see. This is why, I joined your program because every time you write something, it hits home. So today, what I want to share with you is how to create content gold, especially when you don't feel creative. Share your heart, show your work style. So even though I'm talking about this visually and the people live watching the video can see it visually, you're not really missing anything. Maybe I'll share a picture or two in the show notes post. But you're not really missing anything because I know you can visualize this. All right. So I have quite a few journals on my desk for various things, and I organize my journals into topics so that I can find the journals that I need to reflect back on. And so today I want to talk about my content gold journal. I'm on my second one because I recently did a major shift. So content gold journal, and I'm going to tell you what's in this journal, how to create your own, and why you want it. So I don't know how many of you have giant teams that create your content for you, but I don't. And I actually like creating my own content because I feel like it is more, I don't know, I just want the connection from my heart to come through my words or come through my images for my people. That's the way I do things. So what I've done is I used to just create on the whim, on the fly. And I got wrapped up into the days when I didn't feel like posting or sharing or writing an email I kind of got into that mental anxiety about, I don't know what to post. That whole, oh, I haven't posted in a few days stress. And this stopped that. So anytime I want to create a post, if I don't have something automatically bubbling up out of me, and even if I do, a lot of times I will write it down first so that it's there in the future. So the first thing I have in my content gold is I have a series of I ams, and I just always want to start remembering my beliefs, the beliefs I have about myself, the beliefs I have about myself as a coach, the belief about my ability to love and serve my audience, my beliefs about my energy, my beliefs about my capacity. And so what I like is when I go to open this, my first one just said content gold across the front. But what I love is on my journal, the very first thing I see, because my cover is clear, the very first thing I see is my list of I ams. And it helps me to remember the place I want to come from when I'm marketing. And so what this book is, it's not just filled every single day. You may want to take some time, take a good chunk in the morning on a day when you feel really creative. And I'm going to give you some starters. And then as things come up and come along, you can add to it. So the very first thing that I have in here, is my business values. Excuse me. And a while back, I did a private branding values clarification session. So it wasn't about the outer look of the brand, but it was really getting clear on what I value and what I want to communicate, not just personally, but professionally. And so there is for me a distinction with some overlap of personal values and business values. And I put my business values in here. I did this with my friend Tiffany Scott, who has been in marketing and branding for years. She used to work for Speedo. She had a company for herself a long time ago, but now she's only doing private branding sessions. So if you want to reach out and get one of these sessions, it's an amazing conversation. I want to say it was about a 3-hour conversation. And it really helped me get clarity on what I want to talk about with you, why I want to talk about it, and communicating my values. So when you know your values, if you want to reach out, Tiffany, her name is Tiffany Scott. And let me grab her email for you real quick. She doesn't advertise any of this anymore. She's doing a lot of work for another coach, but she loves doing these private branding sessions. Her name is Tiffany at youmeSheCollective.com. Tiffany Scott, or you can reach out to me and I can give you that information. Okay, so I have these values. I have a lot of this stuff up on my walls, which you can't see, but my values are, and I think I did a whole session on it, but my business values are personal growth, self-trust, self-leadership, emotional management, relationships, connection, creative being and doing, authenticity, creation, expression, being, transparent leadership, AKA no more bullshit. You deserve to know the truth. Be a gardener, not a machine. Better is better. Holistic well-being and soulful simplicity. Breathe, y'all. Fun, play, humor, prosperity, emotional, and financial. And so I kind of extrapolated on these in my journal. When I did my session with Tiffany, we just came out with these core words, and I went ahead and extrapolated them a little bit in my content goal journal so that I can see that list at any time. Here's the whole purpose of this book. I used it just the other day and it totally got me a client. So what I did, I've been feeling sick. We have a lot of family stuff going on, have just been basically doing the bare minimum in my business. Honestly, I don't feel super creative, or I didn't until yesterday. Haven't felt super creative, but I really wanted to give something to my audience and give something to my people. And I pulled open this book and I just read it for a few minutes. And what happened was an idea and a thought based on one of these topics percolated up into the world and created an image and a post, right? Like by seeing it, by spending time with these things, it helped me remember who I am. And I wrote a post about that topic. So the first list of topics is going to be your core values, your business brand values. Okay. The reason it's separate from your personal is because my personal values may have nothing to do with serving my audience. Okay. The second page is to list out your client's pains and problems. And I used to be really against this, and now I get it. I used to be against it because I was afraid to feel my own pain and problems, but now as I'm doing more holistic work and doing internal family systems, and over the last 5 years really learning how to feel all of my feelings, I totally get it now. So the way that I have figured out what my clients' problems are listening to my actual clients and what are the topics they bring up over and over and over again. So I'm just going to give you, I have a whole list, but I can write about any one of these topics. And so if I'm going to write about comparison, doubt, depression, disassociation, paradox, feeling both this and that, overthinking, perfectionism, shame, overwhelm, low energy, y'all didn't realize that other business owners had all these things that come up all the time. Overcommitted, hypersensitive to rejection, burnout, anxiety, unable to sleep, people pleasing, over or under functioning. So this list, if I pull this and have some insight or wisdom that I can give value to my clients so that we can, in a post like this, I might start out with the problem and kind of lean towards a solution, but know your clients' pains and problems. And the best way to do that is to hear your clients. What are the things they saying over and over and over and over again, right? I have a whole nother page of those. And then what you can do is you can take your business values, you can take your offerings, you can take the work that you do, and you can begin to create little bullet point ideas in your content goal journal. So I have a section about transformational coaching, and I have little what are they called? Like starters, right? Little starters. So let me give you some of the topics. And what I love is I can take this one topic and write about it 100 different ways. But on a day when you're feeling creative, or let's say you say something really wonderful in working with your clients and you're like, "Ooh, that was good. Let me write it down." It all goes in this content goal journal. And so performance versus creativity, that was the one that I wrote the other day. It's not feeling good. And I saw that right here at the beginning of this book. I've probably written about it a gazillion times, but I was like, oh, that's what I feel able to write about this today. Getting back to practices that support your being. Those who aren't creating, risking, cultivating are often the ones who are criticized and judging those who do. Creativity is boundless, self-generating, expansive. I wrote about that one too. Performance and perfection are limiting. So what you're doing is you're giving yourself, I used to call this a content garden, and you're planting seeds in your journal to come back to later when you are wanting to create content. And so the other thing I want to encourage you, as you're creating content, sometimes we're creating content randomly, and sometimes we're creating content actually that is relevant to an offering we're about to make. So one of my previous marketing staff member would always say, "What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? And how are you selling it?" And so most of my content is around self-leadership and inner work. Today, it's around outer work, but I just wanted to give you a gimme. I wanted to give you an actual applicable tool, free. This is normally stuff reserved for my clients. So you're creating content that eventually leads to your offerings, right? So some of my other topics are nervous system and inflammation. I have tons of little ideas around that. Emotional management for business owners and professionals. I have a bunch of little topics around that. I have pages on self-leadership, and each one of these little topics could be content, right? But what I like is not having to pull this out of my head, and also not having to plan ahead. So there are some people, some of you are planners. I think it's fantastic. When I used to work with my marketing person, we had this spreadsheet, and like 6 months out, we'd be planning content for the podcast. And I can't tell you how many times, and I get it, like, here's the ideas, and these are all the topics that would be great and that would lead to selling this thing. But when, as a creative spirit and as a heart-centered spirit, sometimes you don't want to, you're a gardener, not a machine, right? I'm a gardener. And so I don't want to create in a mechanical way, but I don't want to leave it just to inspiration. So what I do is my content goal journal is an inspiration book based on the topics and conversations and problems and solutions my ideal clients have, that anytime I open it up, it is going to strike my inspiration. And so I have some topics in here about authority and agency, deep coaching manifesto. I have a whole nother page of I have a whole nother page of problems that my clients come up with. Self-avoidance. I have a page on here about what makes me different as a coach, right? So you come up with a page that what makes your product or service different. Get it down in writing. Here's the other thing. This is not going to be published. This is for you to help you remember your genius, especially on days when you don't feel creative. Let me see if there's anything else I'm missing. I have a whole bunch of this stuff. A list of your client results. What are some of the results and payoffs? I think especially, I have friends that work with clients in making money and sales, and those are so easy. It's like, oh, I had a $20,000 month. And I have clients that do those. I have clients that get really big outer results. But especially if you're like me and you're working in mostly the inner work world, it can be really subtle to notice the results that you want to share, right? It's like super sexy, low-hanging fruit to make money claims. I love when my clients make money. I love when I get to brag about my clients making money. And a client to me said the other day, this is when I went in and wrote down, she said, "Oh, I thought," this is a woman with multiple businesses across the country, handful of kids, building a new house, has been a client for a long time. And she said, "I thought self-care was taking baths and eating good food, getting a massage." And what she said to me on the call was, "I now see that self-care is meeting all these parts of myself, especially the really uncomfortable ones. When I face my own fears and my anger and my frustration, and I give that witness and conversation and connection, I am truly caring for myself instead of shoving parts of me down." I was like, yes, right? So sometimes, especially if you do more nuanced work, that, yes, will that ultimately lead to more money? Absolutely. It already has. But I'm not a money coach, so we're not talking about those kinds of results. Here's one. What would help my clients? Make a list of the things that would help your client. So in marketing, you want to give value before the sale. You don't just want to, I know I talk about myself a lot. I am my own learning tool, and I hope to be a learning tool for all of you. But make a list of the key points of what would help your clients, right? To feel resourceful, feel safe, connected, understood, loved, get more of what they want right now. How do they get more of what they want right now? So I could go on and on and on. The next topic I have down here came from a client conversation. A client that just got a ginormous, she's a big fucking deal job. Big job. Not my news to share, but big job. Big job. And we were having a discussion as she goes from working in her own company to working in this big company about armored leadership versus transparent leadership. And I think armored living versus unarmored living, unarmored self-leadership. And that is the next chapter that I'm going to be writing different ideas and topics in bite-sized pieces for content, because I know that many of my successful business owner clients they're in achievement phase. They look around like money's not an issue, their business is working, but they notice that their heart has been really armored, and they'd like to learn how to sustain their success and open their hearts. And so these are some of the things that are in my book. But what I want you to do is take some time and get your book started. If you need a values clarification, or if you haven't done the values clarification that you already downloaded from my website, if on my website is the download for values clarification workbook, I want you to do it 2 times. I want you to do it in a personal mindset, like in your relationship, your home, your families, outside of work. And then I want you to do a second time in the spirit of your business, not you in your business, but ask your business to fill out that values, and then write your values down. Maybe make each value 1 page and write a series of ideas that you can communicate to your audience, whether you communicate it via email. Please use email. Please use email. I know some of y'all hate using email. Please use email. Number 2, obviously your social media, but podcast. I know podcast takes time, effort, and resources. They are not free to produce. They can be. My husband is able to produce his for free, but even my husband does this. He has his own little version. My husband has a podcast called I'm Not Mad, I'm Just Irritated by Bill Flanagan. And he keeps his content gold. He calls his, what do you call it, babe? Premium content. He calls it premium content. And he keeps a list of premium content on a little sticky pad. So mine is a little bit more formal, but that way you remember in times when you don't remember. So create yourself a content gold book, so that on days when you'd like to love on your audience, but you're feeling kind of puny, but you still want to give. I mean, obviously there's some days when you're just going to feel puny and you're going to let yourself rest, but other days when you want to give, a little bit to your business, but you're feeling puny, you can pull out your content gold book, and I guarantee you something will connect with your own heart in your own book. And then you can give that with minimal effort and energy to your audience. Also, when you're sitting down doing longer term planning, you have beautifully constrained messaging and ideas in one place for you to work from. If you are a coach, and right now there may be other ways to do this. I'm just thinking about coaches because I'm thinking about myself. One of the best ways to do this, thanks, Marianne, good to see you. One of the best ways to do this is reflect on not the specifics of your client. Don't be giving away any details of your client's confidentiality, but listen for the themes that come up with your clients on calls, in sessions, in Q&As. And listen for the themes that are different from your actual clients to your audience, right? So look, on here on the very back, I have podcast ideas, and some of them I've done. It's time for me to create a new. Did my dog just unplug the computer? Why did my... I don't know what happened. And it says it's still going live. That was really weird. Hey, Elise, can you cut that big giant pause out? All right. So last thing is podcast ideas. Speaking of podcast ideas, if there's anything you want me to talk about, that I haven't talked about in 155 episodes, or maybe you want to go further in an episode. You want me to go further in a specific topic. I think the one topic that I get asked to create content about is imposter syndrome. And I'm so sorry, Amy. See, I just don't connect with it. If anything, I don't have time for imposter syndrome in my own being, so it's hard for me to relate to it. I tend to talk about things that I relate with, and I'm not sure that I could talk about imposter syndrome yet in a way that would be authentic. So if there's anything besides the imposter syndrome that would help you coming out my mouth into your ears, let me know. With that, thank you so much for spending time with you. That is episode number 155 of the Better Life, Better Work show. I appreciate you. And if you'd like to hop on over to my website at AllisonCrow.com and grab that values clarification. I would love to hear your values or what insights you get from doing that values clarification exercise. I usually do mine at least once a year. Great time of year to do it as we close out 2021. 2022 is on the way. Peace out.